Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. This is obviously a little bit of a departure from what you're used to on my channel. I really wanted to discuss this particular guide. Over the Easter weekend, I was hanging out with the folks up in Concord, New Hampshire, and we usually go to this antique flea market kind of like place. It's indoors, and I always love going to this place, and a lot of others like it because it is a snapshot into a world that no longer exists, an America that no longer exists, and a lot of things there are. They're items that we Americans used to use all the time, and it's something to me that is really interesting. If you wanted to study American society at any given era, this would be the perfect place because there's just so much stuff that we no longer use, and companies that are no longer around, and it's just a really great place to study and just look at stuff. And it's amazing to me how much of this quote unquote stuff that is still around today. Whoever had the foresight to actually say, hey, maybe we could keep this item and pass it down generation to generation, or now try to sell it to get some money. And it just goes from one generation to another generation. Although that's not always the case because a lot of the younger generations just they're not interested in the same things that other generations were in the past, and like I kind of get that. But for me, growing up, I always was surrounded by antiques, whether that's antique cars or radios or music or movies. Or just hearing the stories of the greatest generation or my father's generation, the baby boomers, or whoever it may be. That's how I grew up. And so for me, it was perfectly natural to see a lot of antique items throughout the house. So when I was at this indoor flea market, I really enjoyed just searching and seeing what I can find. And I was going through a box of old baseball programs from the 1930s and 40s and 50s, and some from the 60s too. But I was really shocked to see this item right here. I had never actually seen something like this before. So for me, it was really, really interesting. And I kind of like thought it would be really expensive and ended up being like $12, which I was like, that's for me. Thank you so much. Um, the 1933 World's Fair, as you can see, this is a 1934 World's Fair, but it's actually the same thing. So, the 1933 Century of Progress, I think that's the official title of it. That was held in Chicago from May 26th, 1933 to November 1st, 1933. This thing was so popular that 48,469,227 visitors showed up. And so what they decided to do was just keep it open until October 31st, 1934. And it was at the lakefront in Northerly Island in Chicago. So I didn't know a whole lot about this. And so I'm going through this particular guide here, and I'll show it to you because that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I have to show this to you guys. I thought this was really, really fascinating. And so there's a map right here of the attractions, and it looks something like this. I got some notes here too, and another guide that I want to show you as well, which I think you guys are going to really appreciate. So this is the map of the location, and it shows you where everything is and where. And so I just really kind of enjoy a lot of this stuff here. And then there's some artwork too that really kind of catches your eye. And it looks like this, the Firestone. So I actually I actually picked up another one of these as well, but it's a red hardbound book, which again, like I've never seen. I didn't even know that this existed, and I think this is like a second printing actually, but we'll see what we'll see what it is. I really didn't go through a whole lot of this, but it says that here a century of progress, copyright 1934 by the Curio Press Inc. I'm not sure. I think that's what it says. My eyesight is just awesome, but um, there is a hobby element to this particular Century of Progress or this World's Fair that I wanted to also discuss with you guys. It's actually quite important to the hobby. This particular World's Fair is. So this was actually quite cheap. I was surprised. I asked how much it was, and the lady at the counter said it was $12.50. So, how to use this guidebook? Okay, uh, the art exhibition. There is so much in here that I may not get to today. I don't really want to bore you guys either, but if you find it boring, that you can always just say this isn't for me. It's a good look to see how they thought of the future in 1933 and what the possibilities were, even though that they were in the middle of the Great Depression. And this kind of reminds me too. Uh, there's two really interesting movies that I was really interested, well, fascinated by back in the day. One was Tomorrowland with George Clooney. I think it's a Disney movie. Really interesting. And then Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. That's with Jude Law. I think that came out in 2004. I think the other one came out in like 2012 or something like that, 2011. I could be wrong on the date on that. But uh, let me see what else they have here. Oh, this is cool. That's really interesting. That's the north entrance of the Hall of Science. Now, one thing I noticed, here's another, I think another photo of it, the Hall of Science right here. So this will kind of go through everything about the World's Fair back then, and I believe that they had World's Fairs going back to like the 1890s. I definitely know 1904 was there was a World's Fair. So I think. Anyway, um, so here's the really fascinating thing about this. The architecture here is awesome, and I was able to find out that there are about five or six buildings that they kept from this World's Fair, and I believe they're historically marked buildings, um, and they're definitely significant. So. Everything else, I believe, was torn down after the World's Fair in 1934, and it took, I believe, about 6 years of planning. I think they started in like 1929, before the stock market crash. They started planning this, and so it took quite a while for them to plan and build everything. And the architecture is really, really interesting. Obviously, the guide here is really cool. Have you ever thought about how the hobby was founded and why it was founded? Now, a lot of people said that Jefferson Burdick founded the hobby because he was interested in paper and and particularly a set, which would be the T206 set, the set that he collected as a kid. Now, that is true, but there was one catalyst for this, and it was actually this World's Fair in 1934. Now, we know that he actually went there because he said he did. And not only did he say he went to this World's Fair, there is a photo of him or portrait of him at done at the World's Fair in 1934. And also, he saw this, and at the Met, we have all of his collection, but we also have this that he picked up at the 1934 World's Fair. And I had to show you this. This is absolutely fascinating. Oh, I had it upside down and backwards. So this says A Century of Progress, 1933, and it is that is the Hall of Science, which you had just seen. And I wanted to show you this. You can see this on the Met website too. They digitized all of his collection, and it is something. Whoop, looks like that. It says, "Come to Chicago in 1933. Enjoy this century of progress. A warm welcome awaits you." This is a postcard set that Jefferson Burdick purchased while he was there, and the artwork is amazing. That looks like I think that's the science. No, that's the administration building. And the artwork is really cool. And I had to pick this up. These you actually can find very, very cheaply. They're very affordable. But this is something that he would have seen in 1933 or 1934, and actually think actually think he went in 1934 because his first written accounts of the hobby were in December of 1935 in Hobbies magazine, and um, this is really neat. And then there's actually more on the back. If I can just, yep, there we go. So, again, really cool. I think that's the Hall of Science right there. And again, he would have seen all this while he was there, and that may be a map right here. And this technically really isn't a postcard set. It's like a souvenir set, but I do have a postcard of it. And this is the postcard. It's I think about the same size. Let me just double check here. Yeah, it's about the same. It is the same size. All right. But if you can tell on the back here that it is the postcard. This is postmarked July 14th through the 12th. That's weird. 1933. Postcard from Chicago, 1933, and the stamp associated. And this is sent to Orleans, Mass, which is the Cape. But I thought this was really awesome, and I had to show you guys. This is actually the 260th video that I've put out, and I did go to the Lucky's Boston show, but I was like, no, I don't want to have that as my 260th video. But all right, so I just got this in literally as I was doing this video, so I wanted to show you guys this. It is the hardcover edition of what I just showed you from the 1934 World's Fair, and this looks incredible. Now, I did actually just purchase this for a friend of mine who saw what I had, and he was like, "Can you try to find me one?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And I grabbed this for 20 bucks. So as you can see here, it has the map folded out, and it's I think that essentially think what you're going to see is maybe the same thing, but just, yeah, it's colorized. This is the binding here is not good. So um, I'm going to just tell them to be very careful with this. But I thought this was really, really cool when I saw it on eBay, and I had to show you this as well. So it looks something like this. Really, really neat. This is again the official guide, and I'm not sure exactly how somebody was to have gotten this compared to the other one. I think maybe the other guide you could actually probably pick up at the World's Fair. This is a little cumbersome actually, and it's quite large, as you guys can see here. But it again is it's really really interesting. Oh, Rufus C. Dawes, president of A Century of Progress. Interesting. I suspect that everything in this is also going to be in the smaller one that I have. So I'll have to double check that. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of I kind of have to have one of these now too, if I can find it again. You never know, like what you're gonna find on eBay as well, or in these antique flea markets, as I've said. Yeah, this might actually be better. I think this is the Court of Honor Hall of Science right here, and this is the administration building. And there's another thing here. It says style of buildings. So and the modern planning. Hmm. I think everything you need to know about the World's Fair from 1934 should be found in this book. Really interesting stuff. I'm really sorry that I can't show you the entire thing here, um, but I just did want to show you a little bit of this. This is the Century of Progress at night. And I really kind of like the details here as well. I think that's quite nice. It's ooh, oh, cool. Um, the color edition here is quite nice. And it's in different colors. This is the Transparent Man. Well, that sounds pretty disgusting. Who the heck wants to see that? The Story of Medicine. Huh. What's that movie with Kevin Bacon? The Invisible Man? He did that, right? I think the guy's been in everything. But that was actually a kind of disgusting movie. I saw that in the theaters and I was pretty grossed out. Um, I don't really like to see a lot of horror movies since I've gotten my fill of horror movies from the 1980s and wanted to kind of go through some of this stuff with you guys. And the General Motors building, I think General Motors was actually a huge sponsor of this event here. Yeah, the photography in this is really, really neat. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it here though for right now, and I don't want to ruin any more of this. But United States government and the states, the federal building, that's neat. And I would really love to hear uh, Jefferson Burdick's thoughts on the World's Fair and exactly what he was thinking when he devised the hobby back in 1935. Um, Obviously, he went to this World's Fair and it made a real huge impression on him. It had to have actually for him to really kind of start the building blocks of the hobby through a postcard set. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it here for now, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, and your comments in the comment section below. And until the next time, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.